On today's episode of WatchJRGo, no, Mr. Corvette, I expect you to die. It's time.
I feel like you need to start that.
I'm not gonna start that over. That was a good one. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today, like I said, we are here with my, what is this, an 02 C5 Corvette Z06 that we bought for just $4,000, and it's time for this car to die. We decided it is just too far gone to bring this thing back. It kind of needs an everything, and obviously we don't have the right interior. I don't want to put the tan interior in it after we talked about it, and we already sold a bunch of it too, so we kind of have to tear it apart.
This car was put back together with hopes and dreams.
This car is put back together.
It is bad.
I'm not gonna say it's baling wire, but I'm gonna say it was put back together in a shed.
So far, to get one fender off, I have 7mm Phillips head screws,
right, and
some T25s.
If you don't find a drywall screw, you know it wasn't worked on in a barn. That's
oh, here,
drywall screw. Look
no,
at
that's
that.
a self-tapper.
Nice.
That's a machine screw.
That is definitely a self-tapper with a pan head. So this thing, it's rough. I mean, we found what, 3 different colors in the front end: yellow, red, and of course it's all been resprayed black, and then it needs glass, and it needs a headliner, and it needs a dash, it needs an everything. So this thing is obviously gonna come apart, and we have too many other projects that need to be worked on anyway. I guess we're gonna save this one, but that's for another day. Today, we sold the entire front end of this car. The fenders, the bumper, the hood, the core support, we sold it all. So it's all gotta come apart. And Eric's over here getting started on it. He's got one fender off and the hood off. And of course, we found a cracked wheel. So we're selling the wheels as a set of 3.
That's a good number.
Everything on this car is a set of 3. There should be 4, but in reality there was only 3. So we're just gonna jump right in here and start taking this thing apart. We gotta get the fenders off, bumper off, like I said. We're just gonna rip everything out and see where we end up. Oh, he wanted the headlights too, but I told him no. Obviously I told him no.
Well, you know.
You can have them. They're free.
I was gonna say, I'll give them to you.
I almost started throwing them in the trash can already. All right, we got the front end all apart. Getting that Haltech intake out of the front bumper. It actually mounts into the bumper, and it's a ram air setup. It was pretty tricky to get all of that apart. But once we eventually did, we were able to get the fender liners. This guy wants everything out of the front end for the most part. So we got him everything. We hooked it up. He's got an entire front clip ready to go on his car. And we went ahead and started this thing up, made our walkthrough videos, all that fun stuff. So all we have to do now is a leak down test. I think it's gonna do just fine, and we'll be ready to pull this engine out. You guys know this engine sells for, what was it, 5,700? Yeah, 5,700. All right, so we are gonna get right back on to tearing this apart, although it's probably gonna be a different day. We gotta fix another project. So we got the front end off this car, and we already sold all of that. The fenders, the hood, the bumper. The buyer actually needed a whole front end, and I was like, you can just have it all, you know, because our headlight buckets were ruined, but the headlight motors worked, all that stuff. So he got a pretty wild deal for an entire Corvette front end. Now this thing's still running and honestly still driving if you put wheels on it. We
Prove
did.
it.
Well, we're gonna prove it. We're gonna actually prove that.
Please don't. It's so loud.
But we did find that massive crack in one of the wheels, and we're glad we're not driving this thing anymore. I mean, this car it's kind of beyond rough. There's really nothing left, but we did just unbolt this fender. Oh, I might need your help.
We can't do this one without the gas.
Yeah, I gotta hook the button back up. If you guys have an FRC and you're working on one of these things and you don't know, all of these screws here are slotted, so you just yank. There's no way to get any kind of tool underneath the top on an FRC. On the coupe, this opens up so you can get to every bolt. But in this, you just pull and they're actually already loose from the factory.
You just not want to finish this last bolt.
Oh, did I leave one in? My bad, my bad.
Just for YouTube or something?
Yeah, I was trying to make you do a little work. I said my bad. All the other bolts are out.
It has like alignment pins.
I see.
And then the antenna?
The antenna's bracket's loose, so it should come up and out.
Okay.
Or the bracket is out. Hey! Alright, well that's the side of a Corvette.
There you go.
Shout out Eric getting that thing out of here. So, the antenna wasn't ever reinstalled properly on this thing either. It was sitting weird in the fender. Just a lot of stuff going on with this car. When you have to take these out, there's a bunch of bolts. There's 4 bolts you get from inside the fender, and then 3 bolts or something like that you get from the taillight holes. And then we actually have to cut those out. Those need drilled out. They're plastic rivets that hold the bumper to the foam. Other than that, I've got every fastener off. So, a lot of work tearing this thing down. No doubt about it. They don't build them like this anymore. Now these things would be much more serviceable or completely unserviceable. It's one or the other. So they'll just seam seal everything to the car now, or give you bolts for everything, especially the back bumper. Back bumper is usually pretty easy, but on the C5, not so much. As soon as we got the back bumper off this thing, we found some nasty stuff. The bumper's in good shape, but there were some rodents living in here, and they have a huge nest up here on that styrofoam support. They clearly chewed a bunch of the styrofoam up, and we think they also ate through these wires. A couple different wires here, like those ones that are hanging loose. It looks like they chewed through those. They went to the marker light, and that marker light didn't work. So.
Oh yeah, this one.
Yep. That one's all chewed off. Nasty.
Typical Kansas car. Sitting in a farmer's field.
So we're about ready to pull the driver's side fender off this thing. I'm going to go get a broom and clean up this biohazard we've got underneath the car. And a few short minutes later, we've built another Corvette go-kart. That's what the world needs more of. Personally, I love Corvette go-karts. I don't want another one, but they are really, really fun. So this thing is ready to go terrorize some streets, even though it never will. The guy that's buying it actually just wanted a drivetrain, but he wanted it complete. And I was like, you know what? I can leave it starting for you. So we did exactly that. Let me find the key. We hooked him up with a turnkey LS6 drivetrain, ready to drop into whatever he's working on. I kind of assume it's another Corvette, because why else would you want a torque tube? But here we are in it, and I know I don't think I need the clutch switch in this thing. Fuel pump prime. So, leaving the entire car together so he could put wheels on it and push it onto a trailer was actually the easiest thing to do. There's really nothing left of value on this car for I mean, obviously the really expensive parts of the car are all there. The LS6, the transmission, torque tube. You know, Z06s have bigger front brakes. This has Z06 suspension that's good all the way around. It wasn't leaking. So let's be honest, we did leave a lot of, we did leave all the valuable stuff, but we have sold this for more than we paid for it, and then all the other parts that we have should be pure profit for the most part. So this one was a great win, and it kept us from having to store all this and deal with shipping an engine, and somebody else gets a great deal on an LS6. We basically sold them everything for what I would sell the engine for on eBay. So that is the end of the cheap Z06. This was a car that definitely shouldn't have been put back together the first time. It already had a rebuilt title. It had already been hit. We found different colors on every single body panel. Somebody had kind of hacked something together and made it work. Here's a really crazy thing you guys have probably never seen before. The rocker panels on the Z06, they start right here, then they come all the way down. They have the special Z06 vents to cool the brakes and everything like that. It's all of this, and then it comes all the way back up to here. And look at this. This one is completely broken off. They just cut it up and seam sealed these things on. I think when they were rebuilding it from the first wreck, pretty much everything was broken. Like the rockers were broken, fenders were broken. Whatever happened to this car, it had a really, really bad life. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but they also, that Borla exhaust I was so excited about, I would have definitely taken that off. They actually cut the Borla exhaust that they must have got from someone else open, and then pulled all the packing out of the mufflers, and then did a bad job welding it back together. So really all that's left is Borla tips. That was super sad because, as you guys know, that's a $1,500 catback probably, and it would have been a great piece to sell. But as is, it's a running, driving Corvette drivetrain that you can put some wheels on and go rip it around on the street and have some fun if you put some lights on it. So that's what's left of it. There's the interior pieces, the trunk lid, the bumper. Obviously all this will go get cleaned up, washed, and I mean, it has clear peel, so we're selling it, you know, in a way that it'll be disclosed that it laid on its face. Don't worry about that. I mean, it's not a perfect bumper. There wasn't a perfect part on this thing. Almost every single part that came off this car is gonna have notes with it. But it was still a good time. I'm glad we bought the car. I'm glad we're selling the car to someone else that wants a whole drivetrain. And if you guys need any C5 parts, C5 Z06 parts specifically, I mean, we do have some good stuff. Like I got the, you know, here's the vents for the rockers and stuff like that. Lots of parts are still definitely good. Hit the link in the description below if you want to check them out. It'll take you right to my, Eric and I's Go Recycler store on eBay. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. You guys know the seats, those terrible like gamer seats that were in this thing? First of all, I did figure out why the one was flopping all over the place. They had broken the seat completely. It was supposed to have like a spring catch that would pick up the little, well, you guys know, the little half circle with all the teeth in it, that it would hold the seat there. Well, they had broken that, and then I also found out it had manual seat rails. I don't remember if the Z06 had manual seats, but now that I think about it, it kind of looks like this thing doesn't have seat connectors. Interesting. Maybe it always had manual seats. Well, I sold the seats and the seat rails. Somebody got basically a giveaway of a deal because we just wanted them out of here. The seats were trash. They needed to be thrown away. And this guy was like, I need the seat slides. I'll throw the seats away. So we cleaned up already on this thing pretty well. And once we get it all out of the shop, we'll really be cleaning up. If you saw this geospectrum in the background, no you didn't. I can't talk about it. It's not even mine.